Alrighty, movie number 2, Jackie. Academy Award nominated Jackie. Jesus, I don't really know what to say. Weird double feature to go from Jackie into Trolls next. And I already forgot what I watched the first time. Right, Passengers. Passengers left a lot to be desired. Jackie was a pretty solid flick, though. So I don't know this director at all. He's a foreign director, I think Spanish, maybe Portuguese. And he's done a bunch of other stuff. When I saw the trailers for this movie, I thought, it's going to be really sad, boring, and pretentious. That's kind of the vibe I got from the trailers. With probably a great performance anchoring it. Happy to say I was wrong. It gets some moments of pretentiousness, but it's never really boring. She's great. Natalie Portman is fantastic as Jackie. Before it started, I was thinking, like, I don't really know what this movie is. I don't know what time period it covers. I don't know if Natalie is doing, like, an impersonation. And I was thinking about what I was going to say in the review, which is, I don't really know Jackie Kennedy, Jackie O, beyond, like, that pink outfit and that hat. I don't really know Jackie well enough, so she couldn't be doing an impersonation and I wouldn't recognize it. And then as soon as she started talking, I was, like, immediately transported, like, oh yeah, no, I have heard Jackie Kennedy talk. And there were moments in this movie where I forgot that it was Natalie Portman. Not that I'm stupid or anything. This wasn't like a transforming, like, Heath Ledger type of thing. Heath Ledger and the Joker, but she's really good. She's really, really good. The movie's interesting. It has an Aronofsky vibe to it. The way the camera follows Jackie around reminded me of Black Swan, which, of course, the camera follows Natalie Portman around in that movie, too. And it's also got kind of a lyrical Terrence Malick-y vibe to it. And then I saw that Aronofsky executive produced it, so right on. In the same way that Silence is kind of meant to make you feel just tense and nervous and uncomfortable, this movie has a similar thing going for it. The framing of scenes, it's awkward, but not awkward as in like you're watching a bad Ed Wood movie, like purposefully stressful a lot of the time. The pacing is all over the place. The structure, if there even is one, doesn't really exist. It jumps around to 3 or 4 different kind of key moments. Yeah, it's weird. It's narratively kind of a weird movie. This feels like the kind of thing that was found in editing, but for all I know, the screenplay was structured this way as well. I don't know. It's a portrait of a woman. I mean, and I guess it's a portrait of grief. That's a good way to start. Okay, so I didn't know going in what this was, what kind of movie it was going to be. The alternate title for this movie could have been 7 Days in November, because it takes place the week after Kennedy is killed. It's, you know, we see some of the assassination moments in Dallas, but yeah, essentially it's the aftermath, with occasional flashbacks to the two of them together and her in the White House kind of picking out all the furniture and arts and stuff like that, decorating the White House. But primarily this is the week or so after Kennedy's death, and the framing device is she's being interviewed by Billy Crudup, who is the main character in Almost Famous. Well, the main character in Almost Famous is the kid. The guitarist, Russell, from Almost Famous. That's Billy Crudup, or Dr. Manhattan, for you young kids out there who never watched Almost Famous. Billy Crudup plays a reporter who's coming in to, I guess, be the first member of the press to speak to Jackie since the killing. And she's controlling everything that's being said. Those scenes are very cold. A lot of them, they're very distant, and you get the vibe that, you know, this isn't him writing an article. She is controlling exactly what's going to be said. This is her story. Happens to have his name on it. And based on that, we jump around. We were able to go back to, apparently she introduced the American public to the White House. You know, she brought cameras into the White House for the first time ever and gave them a tour through all the rooms, and in particular the Lincoln bedroom, and talked about the significance of that. We go through that. We go through the swearing in of LBJ, played by John Carroll Lynch. We go through the planning of the massive funeral that, of course, we all know from the imagery of, you know, walking down the street, like marching down the street in a parade. We go through the planning of that. We go into all kinds of stuff. We jump all over the place. And there are some really phenomenal side performances here, too. Like I said, Billy Crudup plays the reporter. We also have Peter Skarsgård, I think is his name, as Bobby Kennedy. For those who don't know Peter, he's been in all kinds of stuff. He is the third member of the trio in Garden State. You know, it's Natalie Portman and whoever the dude is in that movie. Zach Braff, right? It's his movie. And then their third friend is Peter Skarsgård. He's also Jake Gyllenhaal's partner in the Sniper movie. The Sam Mendes Sniper movie, Jarhead. So really good actor. He's been doing stuff for a while, and I've liked him. He was in An Education, really good actor, and he plays Bobby Kennedy here, and he's really compelling. Jackie's performance, or Jackie's character, I don't know how much this is truthful, but Jackie's a really closed-off woman a lot of the time. So he's the character that gets to kind of lament and be angry and frustrated and all that stuff. He's really good. And we also have John Hurt, who plays a priest in a few scenes, and John Hurt's always great. R.I.P. He'll be missed. John Hurt is an amazing actor. I'm not sure what this movie's supposed to say, if it's supposed to say anything at all. It's not exactly a portrait of grief, because it doesn't have kind of like that Manchester by the Sea vibe. It's not exactly a biopic, and it's not exactly like an art film that's showing a specific side of Jackie. Like I said, she comes off pretty cold and pretty calculating and conniving. But there's also a tremendous heart to her, a tremendous integrity to her. But it's not like a well-rounded performance. Like, it's not like it's not like she plays the part from age 30 or whatever. You know, it's this very, very contained part of her life. But, like, we don't really it's mostly the traumatic after effects of the assassination. We don't really get to see her, or her on camera introducing the public to the White House. We don't really get to see many private moments where she isn't dealing with grief or loss or whatever. You know, there are no moments, there are like very few conversations with her and John. It's really weird. It's got a very, it's hard to compare it to anything, and that's probably why she was nominated. She's really good in it, and you never quite get the sense of who this person is, but you also totally understand her, if that makes any kind of sense at all. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting movie. The editing is pretty solid. I know, of course, she was nominated for, did that help at all? I know she was nominated for Best Actress. She won, of course, for Black Swan. I don't know if this movie got any other nominations, like for cinematography or editing or anything like that. It's a pretty gorgeous looking film. The use of like stock footage is cool and doesn't feel like gimmicky like it did in Forrest Gump or something like that. Like I said, the cast, I don't know if this got a SAG nomination for Best Ensemble, but everybody's really good in the movie. Greta Gerwig plays, I don't know who she is. I don't know the backstory of Jackie Kennedy, but I guess she's like her best friend or maybe chief of staff or something like that. Head maid, I don't know what she is, but like there are a lot of, the closest we get to see Jackie being human is with her only other female counterpart, friend in this world. You know, she's surrounded by these very, very powerful men in suits. Even the reporter, Billy Crudup, seems to have an air of like one-upmanship over her, despite the fact that she's First Lady, because she's just the First Lady. The performances are all really good. It's really compelling, and it's hard to talk about. It's difficult to kind of get into all the specifics. For those of you who are Kennedy people, like who know the story, who are, Kennedy fanatics, they do get into the whole Camelot of it all. There are references to the Bay of Pigs, and there are references to like what, legacy, I guess, is, if there's a theme to this movie, it's legacy. But it seems like the kind of movie that eschews themes and structure and things like that. It just kind of is, this is 7 days in the life of this woman, I guess. But yeah, it's about legacy, and it's about what that brief shining moment, what that presidency represented for a time, and the frustration of like, there's a lot of Lincoln talk in this movie. Another president who was killed in office, murdered, assassinated while serving as president. And there's a lot of talk about, legacy, because, there's a really good moment where she asks, they're driving back, I think from the airport, like they've just landed with the body from Dallas. She's still covered in blood. And she asks the guy driving the car, do you know who, like, I don't even remember the names, Chester A. Arthur maybe, Garfield? I don't know which presidents, but a couple of presidents who were shot. And the driver is like, I have no idea who those men are, I'm sorry. And then she says, do you know Abraham Lincoln? And he goes, oh, of course. He freed the slaves. He won the Civil War. So there's a lot of talk about, like, Is Kennedy going to be forgotten as just some guy, you know, this young, pretty person who fucked up at the Bay of Pigs and then happened to save it? Or will he be remembered as something representing what the country could be, you know, good men fighting for goodness? There's a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of very haunting imagery. They do get around to showing the assassination at a certain point, and of course it's very difficult to sit through. My favorite sequence of the movie might be just her, the first time she comes back to the White House after the assassination. She just starts walking through the residency, which I'm a big West Wing fan, so I recognize all the hallways and stuff. And she's just walking through by herself, and she's still wearing their pink coat, you know, very famously that outfit. And there's blood splatter on her on her hands and on her coat. And she's kind of just walking through these hallways, which, like, she decorated, she planned. She made that house, she made that building a museum of the legacy of greatness. And she's walking through it and looking at all these things and knowing that her husband isn't there anymore. And it's just creepy and fucked up. Creepy and fucked up sums this movie up pretty well. I also think it's a little weird how the movie ends. The last shot of this movie, you know, if you've seen the trailer, the movie is very much this. The whole, like, a lot of this is very much right on Natalie Portman's face. And if you've seen the trailer, there's a moment where she looks directly into the camera. That's very, very near the end, and I figured that would kind of be it. But instead, they kind of go a little further, and they end it with a happier moment in times gone past where she's dancing with Jack at the White House in the East Room. And it's for me, it felt like a weird place to end it, because I'm not sure what the fuck that's supposed to mean. I don't really, like I said, I'm not sure what the intention is behind any of what the screenwriter, I don't know what the screenwriter intended. I don't know what the director intended. I just know that I liked it. I don't know if this is supposed to be an emotional story about grief. I don't know if this is supposed to be a peek behind the lens of who Jackie Kennedy was. I don't know if this is supposed to be an indictment, kind of, how cold Jackie Kennedy was, or despite the fact that she was a cold woman, that she made something last, that she, you know, there's a line in the movie, maybe in the trailer too, it felt like a trailer kind of line, where Billy Crudup says, the death of a presidency is traumatic. The death of a president is traumatic. It's like losing a father. The whole country lost a father. And you were a mother to all of us. That's what this story is going to be. Then yeah, of course, you know, before seeing this movie, the only thing I really knew about Jackie is that she was there, that she stood by her husband, that she took the kids out, you know, that famous image of the little JFK Jr. saluting his dad in that blue coat. So yeah, I guess. So maybe that's what it is like when you think you know the exterior, when you think you know a politician or political figure or, you know, famous person, and how strong they appear to be, and then you kind of peek behind the lens and see that there's a whole bunch of contradictions there. You know, she's cold-hearted and she's kind. She's decisive, but she's also completely open to change her mind all the time. That she is very much in love with her husband, but understands that he cheated on her a lot, shit like that. So yeah, very compelling movie. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, so average length. It's about what it needed to be. I think it could have been trimmed a little bit. Like I said, it does have that kind of Terrence Malick-y vibe to it, so there's a lot of, like, shots that just kind of linger on stuff that I feel like could have been trimmed. But it's an emotional ride, and yeah, Natalie Portman's great. As far as the best actress of it all, it's really tough for me to choose. Again, I didn't really see any of the nominees, but it's really tough for me to choose between her and Emma Stone. Emma's got that fucking standout sequence, that one take where she sings that song, and she's playing a character who we get to see more sides of, whereas this is a real person that we get to see only a couple dimensions of. So yeah, it's a toss-up. I give it to Emma still in my heart, because that movie really moved me and her performance moved me. And again, Natalie's got an Oscar already. So anyway, that's Jackie. I'm gonna go watch Trolls, which should be a palate cleanser. Jesus. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.